Alpha Draft top players of the game. The top player
I'm calling him adjusting.
was the Serqet. Adjusting?
Oh, he's like adapting.
I need to see more play out of him before I see that. That said, Enemy's jungler did do very well, and I like the direction and the suggestion. If I see a couple more weeks out of Adjust, I'll give him the adjusting.
All right, Salt Machine, Khaos, the rest of the squad showing up as well. Shadowq and Mace. Now we can go to game 2. So let's do it. P's and B's on their way.
Pretty please. Curves and Way. Well, Bart's going to clap like that.
Hey!
And there you go.
I thought that I forgot it went from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to bring it in, and then no.
I knew what you were going for, and I also knew how the graphics went up and down, so.
I also knew that Raymond back there isn't a nice guy. He could have made that cool.
No.
Instead, he chose to not.
Enemy versus Denial Esports. Enemy, they get first pick this time around. First game, Denial had the first pick. We'll see where everybody chooses to go.
Bye-bye Hell.
Enemy does not want to deal with the healers. Say goodbye to Hell.
So that's definitely like the thing I'm looking most forward to about the Super Regionals is the one international game that's going to be played. What the hell?
See you later, folks.
Hey.
Sun Wukong
You love
being
that.
banned out. I mean,
You love that.
I did love that, actually. But so yeah, the international scene is very divided on this Hell. It's interesting. Before, Hell is strong now, largely off of a Weakening Curse nerf. Hell was played in Europe even before the Weakening Curse nerf. Now she's not. It doesn't make much sense.
It makes actually negative sense. It's like it hurts my brain.
I mean, the reality of it is actually metagame. We overuse this term a lot, but the reality of it is now that the Weakening Curse is in place, players are expected to play the Hell. So whatever shenanigans that was going to come out of your solo lane Hell, your ringer sausage pick or whatnot, now it's expected. Now it's not weird. Now it's not janky. So it can be met with some resistance. So I see the thought process there as far as the metagame is concerned. And you didn't like it in game 1. How do you like it in game 2, Bart? First pick, Geb.
Still don't think it's a good pick. First pick overall.
PainDeViande
I think
really
okay,
wants to
so
play.
here's what I think. Here's what happened in the last game, and I think why they did it. So when you draft a Serqet, and you would expect then Shing, I mean, the players, generally speaking, know what everyone plays and what they've been scrimming, is going to pick the Naja to counter it, right? Once the Sash comes out, but before the ultimate, Geb can shield that and negate that, right? And that's what they were looking for. They were looking for that, like, clutch, you don't actually kill the Serqet play. And I think it worked out pretty well. But I still think that Giannis Serqet is the best 2 picks you can make if they're available. Like, why would you not take them?
Well, Denial, they don't think so either. BEllona is going to be picked up alongside Serqet, so still seeing that priority onto the jungler Serqet. A lot of surprise potential out of there. Shing, this is a very similar feel to Naja in the sense that Serqet's job is to just kill you.
So what are they going to do with this?
I mean, Naja or Serqet is going to go in the jungle.
What are they going to do with the BEllona, though? Like, what does she do that makes her worthy of a first pick right now?
I mean, BEllona is just a very strong person in the lane, especially when you take Sun Wukong off the table. You're not going to have to deal with that. Hades might go in either way.
It's just that's just the god pool they have to select from is physical harassers?
I mean, that's largely the soul lane god pool at the moment. It's just warriors in the soul lane.
Yeah, more or less. But I don't know. Something strikes me weird about this. Like, this is going to turn into something maybe a little bit different than what we would expect out of it. Like, I just don't see why you first pick BEllona there outside of the fact that she can play multiple positions and there's not a great counter for her. Not that... I don't know. Well, it'll be curious to see what they go for here. But Awilix is locked in with the Geb, which obviously has a tremendous amount of built-in synergy. This is before the Awilix buff that's coming out in the patch this next week. So it does not pull through walls. But
it still pulls.
Pulls.
And everybody always focuses on the pulls. It's the first round of picks are done and Sylvanus gets another pick. The steroid on that ultimate
it's crazy.
Is insanity.
Yeah.
It's absolute insanity. And I still have yet to see a player just activated to destroy a tower.
Well, that's what's funny, right? Is that like when Awilix was in development, they kind of figured out what Gravity Surge was going to do, and then the designers were talking about it, and they asked me, and they were like, it wasn't just me, but it was like a couple guys from the esports department. They were like, well, she needs something else. I was like, well, just put the best steroid in the game on her. And they were like, well, what do you mean? I was like, the best one. Like, give her 65 power and all the attack speed. See what happens.
And nobody noticed.
And no one noticed. And it goes, and we even buffed it. It was like 3 seconds, now it's 5.
It's interesting because a lot of times what will happen as Xbalanque is picked up by Denial this time around is that Bastet will do she will kill early on, and then in the mid-game transition into a split pusher, because for Bastet to deal her damage, she puts herself into harm's way.
Sure.
Awilix is largely the same way in that to deal damage, she puts herself in harm's way unless you can master the Feather Step, which is a large unless. Awilix, with that ultimate, can wind up being a split pusher. The attack speed and the power given to her can annihilate these structures, and we haven't seen that strategy
Well, the
yet.
big issue is minion clear.
Exactly. Okay.
Where Bastet excels there, or has a much better, like she can put out 2 spells and instantly clear the wave, where Awilix still needs time, right? The cat goes out, and then you have to Feather Step the front line and go attack the back line. It's a little bit longer, a little bit less time to hit the tower. Osiris locked in.
You don't have the minions to get rid of the backdoor protections.
That as well, yeah, also factors in quite heavily. But enemy, they'll take Ram this time around. These are the 2 gods that Vetium has played against Denial, so they'll get it again. Osiris, they're figuring BEllona for the soul lane here. We'll see if they are right. With the Sylvanus, seems very likely, although it could still be some kind of craziness. Although looking less and less likely now as the 5th pick is pending. Very likely to be the mid lane mage for Denial. And looking what is left on the board.
Mid lane mage. Anubis!
No,
that's an Anubis. Anubis provides so much clear, so much damage, and if Denial wanted to go all in with Naja last time around, they're going all in with Anubis this time around.
Why did they not pick Giannis?
Because clearly you want to be the laser dog.
But he's unpicked and banned. Neither team wants Giannis.
Now that is curious to me. The lack of a Giannis in a game is...
So the reason you're seeing Anubis is because it's a Hades mid, right? Like that's like what the thought is, right?
Yes.
It's like...
You're going to clear, I'm going to clear.
Well, and there's like really only Anubis is the only mage in the game, with maybe the exception of Poseidon, that if he gets ulted by Hades is like, I'm fighting.
Sure.
Isn't worried about it. Like Raz and Kukulkans, like those ultimates take a little bit too long to actually like come to fruition, I think, and they don't have the right tools besides that.
I see where you're going.
Where Anubis is like, I'm fighting, putting on my 3-1 and I'm ulting you.
And depending on the build that Anubis goes, he might even heal up at the end of that exchange.
Yeah.
So by putting the Anubis mid, it does open that up. Also worth noting, Anubis cannot be knocked up while channeling his Plague of Locusts.
Very good call.
So while Anubis is sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes played in the solo lane to counteract a tier, he can do the same thing in the mid lane to avoid what a Just can deal out to him. All of a sudden he sees people show up, he gets blinked upon by a Geb, just shoot out the Plague of Locusts into nothing, you're not getting knocked up and pulled into a party of people ready to kill you.
Okay, all right. So yeah, it's one of the better Anubis games that you could play.
I know Lobster at home is very excited.
Well, we talked about Naja being fringe viable. Anubis is like 70 times lower down on that ladder than
But
Naja.
Anubis, like I said,
Naja's
Anubis
just like right
does
outside
have
of
the
being,
moments,
right?
and this is one of them. He's got the Hades situation, he's got the anti-knockup situation. This is one of those moments.
Sure, but like, really, you're gonna Plague of Locusts on reaction to a knockup?
This is the Pro League. This is where you see that
They're
happen.
still ping.
This is where you see that happen. we saw it happen. I want to say it was Anatoly, but I could be mistaken. No, it was NQ.
Okay.
NQ
Guan
is
Yu,
Plague of Locusts.
Palu Assault makes you knockup immune. And it has a long duration. And you move around during it.
But you don't shoot lasers.
So like,
Bart.
okay,
You're
I get it,
missing
right?
this.
You can avoid some knockups. I play a lot of Anubis. Plague of Locusts is not a fast startup ability. It's just I mean, that's a stretch. That's a stretch. You're right, and it's probably why they picked it ultimately.
Yes.
But it's going to take some serious execution.
I mean, and serious execution. This is
Macetodaface is a very technical player. I mean, he's one of those types.
exactly. You know, there are definitely every player has their positives and negatives, and one of the positives for Macetodaface is really his technical execution.
Looking for Shing to show up big in this game. He got the Serqet, needs to have big impact on it. They did first pick it. Words as well. He needs to win his lane if they're going to first pick BEllona, but that seems very unlikely with Saltmachine playing Osiris. He just has a very good match against any physical characters. And then there's Macetodaface playing mid lane Anubis, where you never really know what's going to happen. Anubis is by far the best flash farmer in this game. If you could somehow stack up minion camps or somehow get him more minions to kill, he can kill pretty much anything instantly. His single target damage is very, very good as well with Death Gaze. And the biggest issue with this god is that he's extremely snowball dependent and has less than no late game. Like, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. In a professional level, okay, in a pub game, you win the game.
Yes.
In a 30-minute pro game, you're standing still for like 7 seconds at a time, and you just get crushed by
we do need to qualify
Vetium going blink, blink, blink.
Anubis is one of the highest damage dealing.
Oh, sure. Damage output
if not the
so
most.
is Hunbots.
So late game, you will absolutely delete people, but the problem is in the process, you'll get deleted yourself as long as denial or enemy.
Yes and no, right? But if they just mass itemize bulwarks, right? It's like you don't hunt to 0, and if you can't hunt to 0 because you're snowballing, you don't really do too much. Now, if you're paired with something like a Serqet, right, it becomes a little bit more valuable because once she gets Deathbane on, if you can pop that target or get it quite low for her with her percentage-based damage,
of course,
it ends up being really nice. So
another aspect that I do like. So this one is less about Anubis being good against this situation, but more about Anubis not being in a bad situation. A lot of what makes Anubis bad is that he's unsafe and he's very easily ganked.
Yes.
Especially by popular characters like Thor or characters that could otherwise surprise you, Blink, Ymir's, etc.
Or like just, junglers.
Sure. But adjust on this Awilix, a lot of times it's not as surprising as a Thor dunk down, so you have a couple of more seconds to react when Adjust is going to come in on this Awilix, which will put Macetodaface again in a good situation. Adjust making himself known on the left-hand side, ultimate out of pain, will miss.
Yeah, Cataclysm whiffed there. Adjust gets hit by the darts as well. That means he's slowed. No continued engagement. Still, no kills on the board here. Through 3.5 minutes in game number 2. Enemy did take game number 1, but Denial here. Having a good game so far. Last game was fairly slow as well.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to point out here is that about this Anubis pick, and we'll kind of move off of here for a bit, is this is one of the first times I can remember in North America. It's happened a couple times in Europe where Anubis has been picked and it's not just we're going to style on them. Like, I think this is like legitimately, like, they think this is a really good pick for this situation. And we've kind of gone back and forth on some of the reasons why that could be, but that's what you should take away from this, is that this is a not a trolly Anubis pick. This is a legitimate attempt to put this god into their lineup.
Yeah, every time that I can remember here in North America when Anubis is picked, it's similar to the Zeus situation where you look at him and you go, all right, team, let's attack that guy. And he just dies and dies and dies. We see it with Apwash, slightly for different reasons, but the idea remains the same. Unsafe mages will get camped. Anubis is scaring enemy a little bit, or at least something else is drawing their attention.
Anubis is also one of the only characters in the game with an ability that does not do damage. Very, very few. Yeah. There's not too many of those in Smite these days. There's Athena's Taunt, and I believe Anubis' Wrap.
And Aphrodite's Kiss?
And that, yeah, it does damage. I guess no direct damage, but just damage bonus for what it's worth.
There's a multiplier. No.
It's not damage. No, it's not damage. It's just those. Maybe one or two others that just don't do any damage at all.
Right.
Does Serqet's poison deal damage directly, or is it just the in-hands? I think it has an application damage as well.
Yeah. Judgment Tether out of Osiris deals 0 damage.
Does deal 0 damage. Yeah, not too many of those. I'll use some all of
Geb Shield deals 0 damage.
Well, that's a defensive spell.
It's still 0 damage.
There's a few defensive spells, right, that don't. Kepri's ultimate, like things like that, sure. Aphrodite's ultimate as well.
But there's a multiplier on Kepri's ultimate.
There is. There is. Doesn't count.
There's the no damage Judgment Tether coming out from Saltmachine. Of course, if it stays long enough, it will get a stun. That's what happened to Words. He gets poked out just a little bit, but Saltmachine uses the distance to allow himself to knock back. Just throwing Words for a loop real quick. Saltmachine does have gold to buy, so he might be able to back and purchase something else as he gets the next wave down. BEllona has backed, so that'll give him a window of opportunity to go ahead and do that. Still no kills on the board here as we approach our 6th minute. Here comes Adjust, looking to change that. There's the ultimate. Gravity Surge is strong. Feather Step, not so much. But there's the ultimate from Ram. He's blinded out, not able to hit BronxBombers. Pain gets the hit with the knockup. 1 kill on the board for him.
And I hope you learned something there, ladies and gentlemen. Never go in between the wall and your tower. Never, ever, 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 ever go to that side of the tower. Because you die. Because Geb just walks up and shockwaves you because you can't go anywhere.
From a mile away.
And he did dodge the Ram snipe. And granted, he was forced into that side because of the leap in from Awilix on the Suku underneath the tower. So not necessarily a choice that BronxBombers made there, but he was forced in that position. But that shows off maybe something that you can take home to your own play. It looks like it's a great place to go because of the choke, but it is not.
Feather Step was interesting there because it dealt the damage, but it happened just as the crowd control immunity came online. There's the laser dog, but Khaos able to walk out of there no problem.
And if you don't kill them,
they live.
Not much happens.
Very good.
Not much goes down. You know, if you use 2 ultimates there, you don't get a kill, right? It's a Hades for what it's worth.
Exactly.
But, you know, still, he doesn't have Warlock Sash yet.
If that was
not like it gets easier.
Even still, he has Guardian Scaling. If that was a different mage, that was a death. But going up against Guardian Hades
of course,
is rough.
But he'll have Warlock Sash probably next time they come around and look for that kill. It's going to be a rush to maybe a Magi's for... I'm not Magi's. Spear of the Magus, I'm sorry, for the Anubis to counteract that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a stacking out of his own.
Spear of the Magus works very well on Anubis because, of course, the dots allow it to tick up very well. All of his abilities are multi-tick abilities. Not a single one of Anubis' abilities does flat damage right away. They're all multi-tick, whether it's on the ground or in the air. Anubis will tick that way. But also, going to be looking into lifesteal items because of the insane passive.
No, Sorrow is a weird one.
It's so complex.
It does very many things. At the end of the day, all you need to know about Anubis' passive is that he gets a little bit more resilient and some bonus lifesteal from hitting people.
So largely, I mean, Pythagorean's piece is now almost a common item picked up. You sacrifice a little bit for way of cooldown reduction, but before, it was not respected a lot as enemy forces to
Oh, wow. They're going to find everybody here in the choke, and it's a big Hades ultimate. He only ends up catching one in it for the full duration, but it will result in a kill onto Shadowq and a full disengage. Run away from Denial. And that leaves enemy with a lot of map to farm and a Gold Fury right for the taking. And there they go, and that one's going to be free. Enemy going to get the early game advantage here already, out farming Denial. I'm sorry, take a look at the graphs before the Gold Fury goes down. You will notice that they're already a bit ahead, and then as the Gold Fury falls, they will pull ahead now by several thousand.
3 kills on the board, and so many more good plays have come out of enemy because of those 3, and one of them was the Gold Fury. I'll be honest, I expected this one to go a different route. Khaos most likely going to fall, depends on how much this poison will take. One more, and it does. Shing walks away and gets the kill anyway. Khaos falls. Denial on the board.
To buy a lot more up, dog. Do it. Do it. Almost had you. You thought about it.
Hey, Bart. What's up, dog?
Anubis.
Mario's Brooklyn.
He's the top dog. Kind of like the up dog.
He's top dog?
He's top dog. It's Anubis.
Well, speaking of dogs, last night I had the best hot dog of my life.
Did you? Was it a red hot or a regular?
Don't worry, Chad. I will spare you. Bart and I will talk about our Frankfurters off air.
Funnily enough, though, when I went to San Francisco, I went to a barbecue at a friend's house, and like they had like 6 different kinds of hot dogs. Like they were like, we got like the traditional red hots, we got the links, we got the. I mean, like they had like all these different hot dogs and sausages and things. And I had a kek.
I'm sure you had a ball.
I had a hot ball. That's like a ball full of hot dogs.
That's just dandy, Bart. Coming back to it, we're almost 10 minutes in, so Fire Giant about to spawn in about 15 seconds. Enemy, well, I don't think they can make that stretch. The lead seems larger. It's only 2,000, but off of the last fight in the Gold Fury, that was a big win. Right-hand side, Words getting in some trouble. There's the Gravity Surge. But up, down, coming out of the BEllona. One more hit should do it, but can't find it. Does anyway.
Flail. Here comes the attempt by Shing. He'll need to blink in to get this one. He's not willing to go under tower for it.
Nope.
And they were getting flanked anyway by the support and the rest of the squad. They're going to move forward and they're going to try to pick Geb, but Geb shield's going to get him out of the route for now. Xbalanque ultimate, not going to be enough. And Shing's just going to pass him by.
Blink.
Oh no! They caught death from below there. So this should be a kill in the Khaos pretty easily. Percentage damage coming out from the Geb there, not enough.
Mace to the face, bringing it on. 4-2 as Denial finds their just 2nd kill of the contest.
Left side camps now. They're going to do it all over again. Mace to the face hasn't died yet. Oh yeah, he did. Never mind. Rip. He's 1-1 at least.
Building directly in that Bancroft, as we said.
That's yeah. Still, the last remaining mage in which Bancroft's first item is still core. Used to be everybody.
Just because of the large amount of power, but now the mentality has been, if you're low enough to make use of the Bancroft passive, you're probably just dead anyway. So we see different directions.
Except for maybe Anubis, right? With Sorrow, with everything you get out of it.
That's exactly what I was going to go into. By building the direct lifesteal, we'll see Bancroft's and maybe even Pythagorean's piece afterwards. After a spear, most likely. What it allows Anubis to do is, since Anubis has to stand still, he takes a lot of damage. But by dealing it, since he gets a bonus to lifesteal, much like Freya, he gets a bonus for dealing the damage. So he's standing still, and hopefully, the idea at least, is to mitigate some of the incoming damage by healing it up.
Yeah, indeed. You know, I don't know if he's going to go Pythags this game.
Because
there's not another core magic damage dealer.
Sure.
And he'll need, I don't know if he'll get 6 items this game, is kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Bancroft's, Pen Boots, Spear of the Magus, and then, depending on how it's going, right? Like, that's where it's like, either you rush Rada to Hootie because you have so much farm, or you have to buy a defensive item because you're getting stepped on, and then you maybe get another item.
Sure.
But I don't see him selling off Vampiric Shroud for Pythags. I think that goes Obsidian or Toth last item just for the
I think
power.
we might see the Pythags instead of the Rod if he's just okay. If he's ahead, he goes
Maybe.
Rod. If he's behind, he goes defensive. If we're seeing here, right, sort of a mediocre game, I think we might see the extra lifesteal because that's, again, the lifesteal winds up as a mitigation factor. Not a straight defensive item, but works in that mindset. Pull just going to miss. So
like how Vetium like sidestepped it and then took a shot. And took a bunch of harass in return, but he was like, "I see you trying to pluck me."
It was quick.
You know, fun story. Last time Anubis was buffed, it literally broke the game.
Really? Expand.
Anubis was buffed such that Sorrow gave base lifesteal to the tune of I think 3%, which is about half of what Bristingman's Blessing from Freya does. And Anubis was after that, in the patch directly after that, was winning I think nearly 80% of games.
Wow.
Was the worst balanced god ever, inclusive of release Guan Yu, was 3% base lifesteal Anubis. So it just shows you how on Razor's edge this character actually is. And if you ever hear someone say that he should move during Plague of Locusts as his buff, you should just reference them this cast. He would have a 99% win rate. Like, the god is very, very good.
I mean, he just deals so much damage, and the wrap is an intense stun, and it's a range stun, which Spirit Ball gets away with it because it's a long,
much slower
projectile. The wrap comes out almost immediately. I don't know if a lot of the people at home value that as high as it should be. A range stun is very valuable.
Well, once upon a time, it was just him and Agni.
Right.
They could stun at range, which is why you see lots of Agni dual lanes. Agni Bastet dual lane.
Oh, wow.
Still good.
No, it doesn't sound good
Still
at all.
good. Try playing against it.
Don't plan on it.
Try playing against Hercules Uller. Also,
not
very fun.
Just going to ride up on the Secret. We'll take a look at how he's been doing. 1-0-2 on the new jungler for enemy, building into a very standard start out of Boots into the Jotun's Wrath coming out of the Awilix. Now, after this, we usually see a lot of transcendences here in the third island slot for Awilix because she's so much based on that physical power.
I'm still thinking about Spirit Ball.
Okay. Take me with you.
Well, I'm just thinking, like you know, it goes through walls. I think is the main difference between the two. That's really why
it's one of my favorite abilities.
Raps is so hard, right? Because you can shoot it through the Guardians to the back line, where Rap is not. I mean, Rap is a very, very bad ability by Smite standards.
Sure.
Deals no damage. The stun duration isn't significantly longer than other stuns.
So fast.
It's a pretty small projectile for Smite standards as well.
Which is not always a bad thing. You were just talking about how Spirit Ball,
you can kind of snake
you can
through.
thread the needle with it very easily.
But when you think about what like Serqet's poison does versus
you mean the taunt?
the darts, right? Versus the Rap, one of them is much better than the other. You know, so it's like it's a really curious ability.
Well, you've got distance.
Yeah.
The Rap does go further.
Goes about 25 feet further.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
So the Rap does go further. And you know what's actually interesting about the way Serqet works? If you hit two separate targets, they'll attack each other, which is not always advantageous.
No.
A lot of times you want the character to walk towards you.
Right.
So if it's one of the few abilities that is possible to punish yourself by being accurate with.
Right. Also, it's a really weird ability because you mez them or whatever we call madness, right?
Right, madness, yes.
And then they hit each other, but they don't actually do their damage. They do like weird ability-based damage. It was a balancing thing basically.
Right, because if your hunter attacked you, you were dead,
which is great though. Like that's like I don't know, that's how it's supposed to work, isn't it?
That's how it would work if it was on a warrior part. But the fact of the matter is that Serqet can delete you by herself.
Okay, you don't need on her critting you at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that would be a little bit too much. Now, if you put that on a Nemesis,
yeah,
might be a little bit more interesting.
Vetium?
Gold Fury. No vision here.
Wait, what?
Gold Fury just taken by Denial.
Did you see that? He went for the rolling assault.
Yeah.
Bonus damage shot when it was nowhere near low enough, and then ult like. I guess Denial just didn't see that because that was a free kill. Like he used everything.
They just
this is a big flank by Shing. He does damage as he goes through, but it's not quite what they need. But there it is. It's the 5-man stun coming out of BEllona. Everyone else is bailing out of this one. Death from below, away goes Khaos. The fight continues. Denial searching forward. Khaos re-engages with his ultimate. They'll snatch Words out and they'll get Words with the kill. Just getting credited for that one. Gap Shield doing a ton here for Khaos, forcing them to fight more out of the tower. And what Denial thought was going to be a big resurgence and finding a lot of kills ends up getting turned on them. But here they go, quite low. They'll get the rollout, but there it is. Being shown off there, exactly what you were talking about. He goes and he fights his teammate instead of running back towards Shing.
Yeah.
And that engagement will conclude.
Still here is enemy. They do have the Geb shield to provide some of that stuff, some sustenance in that case, but Geb himself very low. Adjust as well, who will kind of just go away. And we'll see a full-on retreat. It looked like enemy might want to go right back in, but decided better against it and decided to instead retreat. In that situation, a couple of deaths, 5-3. Read the kills now. Still a very low kill count here in our North American matchup of the day. 18 minutes in, only 8 kills on the board. The majority of them going to enemy, who leads this game by about 2,000 gold.
So BEllona 5-man stuns the enemy team, and Mace didn't use his ultimate.
I mean, to be fair, there was also a 4-person knockup by Shadowq that also wasn't capitalized on.
And Mace didn't. Why did Mace? What, was he just behind the tier 1 there? Is that what it was? Like I wasn't really looking at him, but I'm looking at his ultimate being up and going like,
right.
What setup are you looking for?
I don't know.
He must have not been in position. That's the only explanation.
It has to be positioning because I was focused on Khaos in the middle.
Yeah.
Khaos caught. It was very interesting, very cool play. Actually, cool. Khaos goes ahead and catches 4 people, and then lasts till the end. Gets a Geb shield. The only thing that kills him is the root out of Shadowq.
Yeah.
Shadowq roots him in place.
The dot kills him.
Exactly.
Okay, so Mace's ultimate I think just came up. It was on cooldown during the fight, I believe.
No, that makes
and you're
more
right.
sense.
It's not a Bancroft at all. It's just straight to Pythags.
Ah, there you go. Again, so the Bancrofts, the mindset away from the Bancrofts, you lose about 10 power plus the bonus, but the idea is the bonus, if you're less than 100 health, you're probably 0. Yeah. Is the mentality here.
Yeah.
So you give up 10 power and the potential for extra power via
also
the
hooking up your boy
passive.
Sylvanus with that little bit of lifesteal.
But you get the cooldown reduction, which is much more likely to be used than the maybe of Bancroft's passive.
So yeah, I mean what we saw there in that last fight, right, was Denial decided to re-engage after taking the Gold Fury, and they dumped a bunch into the Gold Fury, notably that Anubis ultimate, right, which is
right.
One of the things that we kind of glossed over for this character, in that he's really similar to Amir in that regard, is that this character does enable you to get very early objectives with the damage that comes out from Death Gaze. But as you saw there, very often you rely on Death Gaze damage to do anything with this kit, and having it not having it for that fight, when it was essentially an uncontested Gold Fury kill, ended up biting him in the ass. Yeah. That being said, had he not ulted the Gold Fury, the rest of the team was coming that way, and they may have engaged on them. So the decision-making process of the professional teams being highlighted there a little bit.
Enemy now 3 people deep here in the mid lane. There was a wrap initially, and there's a knock-up. 3 people in the air off of the setup from Shadowq. Adjust very low. He's going to get aggressed on by Shing. That should be a death. Does he spread it? No. Finds just enough room to get away from Khaos to preserve his teammates.
Have you noticed that the Xbalanque ultimates, like, seem to disrupt Denial more than enemy? That was really strange. It was like they didn't continue pursuing it with the Xbalanque ultimate out as if they couldn't see him there. It kind of confused me a little bit.
Surprise. Jumped on his assault machine. He'll be aggressive. There's 2 members of Denial here, but Shing walks away. Here comes Macetodaface. The jump is strong, but it's just an escape measure.
And remember, they used the Anubis ultimate in the mid lane there just a second ago. It's such a tough ability to know. I mean, that's really the main issue here, I think, now as we move into the later stages of the game, is like almost in a way like Hunbots. Like, it's like, if you don't have the ultimate, you're not fighting. And if you have the ultimate, you got some really great kill potential.
Sure. Yeah, yes. I agree, but for very different reasons. I mean, Hunbat's just, he is unsafe to really get in. He's got the jump. He puts himself in harm's way.
Yeah.
Anubis can stay on the outside and deal damage with the Plague of Locusts a little bit, but more notably,
that's a pretty short,
the Grasping Hands is really what he can deal damage with. But fights can happen around Anubis with his ultimate down. Hunbats is largely looked at as the initiator, so
right, okay,
that winds up being different. Your team can still do work, and for Denial, that's kind of what we're seeing not happen, unfortunately. With that fight on the tower and that fight in the jungle, the team wasn't there to pick up the slack when Mace's ultimate was down, so because of that, Denial unable to really convert in the way that they wanted to. Close game.
Yeah, real close. Look at the gold here. Even with the Gold Fury going to the side of enemy, they have a pretty modest advantage, and it is basically exactly what the Gold Fury would yield when they took it. So this one has been dead even across the board. And still, I mean, it's always good when you get your Anubis through the laning stage with 1 death. I say always good as if this happens all the time, but it is a good thing if that ever happens, which it has here.
Right.
He definitely has a lot of damage. Spear of the Magus means that kill attempt onto Hades becomes a lot more effective.
Yeah, as I said before, I mean, Anubis, one of the best gods for stacking Spear of the Magus.
Yeah,
You've got
Agni and Anubis probably the best too.
Anubis, right?
Yeah.
They're the gods that are going to stack that up almost instantaneously. Vetium taking a lot of poke. PainDeViande here to make sure that poke is ignored.
I'm a little surprised we don't see Luxury Magus on Sylvanus more often, just considering Wisps.
Magi's?
Magus.
Oh, okay.
Like Luxury Magus, like
Right.
instead of like a Soul Eater, right? Just get a Magus and then, or Soul Reaver. I'm sorry, you get the Magus and just pen everybody for your team.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just because it's such an efficient, just damage item straight up. Like the debuff is like cool, penetration's awesome, but like the effective damage out of the item is just too high for it to be that more valuable support item.
Yeah, there's some power on it as well. Spear of the Magus has largely replaced Obsidian Shard. Sometimes you'll see Obsidian Shard out of gods with. It winds up being less damage in the long run, but for gods that just want to delete characters like a Poseidon ultimate or characters or Habois, a lot of the times, gods that just want to come out of the gate and delete you in one shot, you'll see the Obsidian Shard, but you're seeing it less and less as Spear of the Magus.
Yeah, even Habois are building Spear of the Magus these days. I mean, it's just like it's just better flat out.
It is exactly. Little bit of resistance here being given to the enemy team by PainDeViande. His team started the Gold Fury. It looks like they leashed it in favor of taking a fight in the mid lane.
Xbalanque ultimate coming out again. Enemy, they've isolated PainDeViande here, has denial. Yeah, he realized he's dead. He moves back to try to get his team attempted escape, but now they've moved forward. The Hades ultimate is there. They've pulled back BEllona as well. Macetodaface erases the Hades in his ultimate. Khaos takes the spill, and there's the Anubis ultimate being used as a god killer to perfection for the first time this match.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want. Your Anubis winds up just being a tower in and of himself. He becomes a very scary turret where he stands still, and if you're anywhere in the radius, which is a long way, a little bit of damage onto it, just being followed up by Shing. A couple of hits. Shing doesn't have the ultimate available, so now he's in some trouble. Vetium seems to have turned it around, but here comes the rest of Denial from the backside, looking for more. Grasping Hands is down. Saltmachine's moving slow, but he's getting those AoE basic attacks online. Shing forced to jump out. Vetium looking for the kill. 1, 2. Does he have the third? No, he shoots towards the objective and lets the jungler go.
The Gold Fury was down there? Yeah.
They took it.
Yeah, so they take it. So what was that third shot? Just like, I guess it was the only person you could see.
Anyway, that big exchange, as we hit our 25th minute, leaves Denial in the lead. Let's take a look at the graphs. Just by 1,000, which is, I mean, that's virtually nothing. Bob.
Yeah, basically they just took the Gold Fury. and like a small skirmish there.
Yep.
Very, very close between these two. As we would have expected.
This is the match that I expected. Game 1, I think enemy got just moment. I don't know what it was, but this is the matchup I expected coming into today's
I think it's the matchup that we would expect coming into the split as well. Unfortunately, Denial has underperformed quite a bit, and enemy enjoys a top 3 spot currently in North America.
Khaos on this Hades, 1, 4, and 2, so not quite the experience he had the last time around playing Hades. A lot of it has to do with Denial's sort of attention to detail and making sure to really focus. I mean, there's only 6 kills on Denial, and 4 of them are on this mid lane Hades.
Yeah, and, Denial has Serqet, Xbalanque, and BEllona all can make it out of the ultimate pretty easily. Sylvanus is so tanky, and Anubis is just going to stand and fight either way. So there's not a great target for him to actually kill with these Pillar of Agonies, which is a lot of where Hades kills come from. It's like Devour Souls in laning phase, Pillar of Agony later on. Right
now, Denial, they're able to take the tier 1 in the mid lane, no problem. Enemy doesn't want to defend. They only have 3 people, to be fair. Denial had 3 people there in the mid lane, but it's 500 gold. And it's 25 minutes in, 26 minutes in. Take it. Risk versus reward, in my opinion there, Bart. I mean, do you really want to defend the tier 1 in the mid lane?
No.
Absolutely
not worth it. Right side, jungle, Serqet and Osiris going at it a bit there over the orange buff here. BEllona joins the fray as well. It looks like they will secure that away from the Broken God of the Afterlife. Not of the Afterlife, just the Broken God. I just want to say
Speed buff. One of the most important objectives on the map.
It was once kind of uncontested the best buff. Now that the attack speed's off and it's just the MS, it's valuable, but it's not like you lost the game because you lost the orange buff. And going fast feels good.
It does.
Tribes Ascend being patched on PTS right now.
I might play just to go fast.
You know what else is fast?
What?
The hot dog. It's an efficient lunch.
It is. It's just a grab-and-go meal.
It's a grab-and-go meal.
Able to pick it up off of whether it's a desk, a table, or a street cart.
Even a roller.
Yeah, there you go. A lot of times I have definitely picked one up on the way to something else.
Oh,
convenient.
Yeah, that's really the name of the game. You pick up that pre-dinner hot dog on the way to dinner.
Now that's something I can get behind.
The old reset here. Not really sure who took that last little heartbeat, but it doesn't matter at this point. 50 gold either way, more or less. Look at old Osiris doing a ton of damage right behind him.
Surprise, Awilix blinking on in to make the face.
Tried to make the play.
Look at that. All the damage that Adjust dealt going in was healed up by a Plague of Locusts and a Grasping Hands, and Shing makes Adjust pay. Not worth.
Now Pain. Oh, it doesn't get ticked by that that Grasping Hands. Would slow
but it gets ticked off by everybody else.
Yeah, man, the laser.
With the credit.
There you go. Shout-outs to the puns. 5 members now of Denial roaming over towards the Fire Giant enemy. They're down to 3. 40 more seconds.
There's a difference between a pun and wordplay.
Was it on? Well, no. Kind of.
A pun is wordplay, but a wordplay is not a pun.
Right.
It's like a rectangle and a square.
But like, if it's not entendre and it's a pun, it's a pun, isn't it?
I think it's just clever wordplay.
Okay.
Fire Giant, 25%. There is an opportunity for Salt Machine to steal it as he's here now. But all the members of Denial looking at him. Here comes Khaos. Denial does get credit for the Fire Giant, and Khaos just gets stomped down with Words, picking up his teammate as well. Double kill for the solo laner on the side of
Denial. So they'll trade out those 50-second respawns on Adjust and Pain for Khaos and Salt. They try to make the play there to stop that Fire Giant from coming through, but now they've lost both of their kind of damage-dealing frontliners. They still have the Geb here, but Geb can't do much versus a 5-man Fire Giant assault onto the base. Take a ride with Mace to the face here on the top dog as he makes his way towards the Phoenix.
What a swing. Enemy was, again, the first game went Enemy's way hand over fist. Enemy, this time around, they still had the lead, although be it slight. Let's take a look at the graphs to really tell the story. You can see they had a slight lead for what seems like the majority of the game. And then there was that last engagement. It was a triple kill. Not a triple kill, but 3 people died on the side of Enemy, which resulted in a Gold Fury, which was a very small gold swing. And then all of a sudden, off of, it's not Adjust's fault, but off of the death in the mid lane, Denial was able to...
No, it's Adjust's fault.
Go ahead and take that death, bring it more death, get a Fire Giant, bring more death because of that, 2 kills, and then they're going for the Gold Fury.
Yeah, I mean, Adjust didn't lose a game for them, but Adjust going in there into 4 and thinking you can pick up Anubis was just like, nah. No, you can't. Who do you think you are, Serqet?
And that's a huge swing. It's a 7,000 gold swing off of a single poor play.
Yeah, I mean, it was just everything collapsed after they lost
effect.
Suku. Yeah, they grabbed a couple more. They take the Fire Giant. They grabbed a couple more. And maybe most importantly was that you had Adjust and Pain dying at the same time for 40 seconds. Right. And then Khaos and Salt Machine dying 40 seconds later for another minute. So, like, they were at a 3v5 for a really, really long time there. And that's where the 7K comes from.
Just an outnumbered.
Yeah, it's more people farming.
Right. Yep. And with that, Denial will also go ahead and double Enemy's kill count. Enemy was leading in kills originally, and Denial goes ahead, makes it 10-5 here in our 30th minute. This is game number 2. Enemy took the first one in spades, so Denial trying to make the comeback because, as we mentioned earlier, Bart, with respect to the standings, this split is very important for Denial.
Osiris also, like, he's having a really hard time itemizing into a damage item here. You can see there's just a ton of utility items that he's picked up.
Right.
Just trying to slow down BEllona, Serqet, Xbalanque. A lot of anti-attack speed, a lot of physical protection, and a pestilence as well. So will he go into a 6-item damage, and what could it possibly... It has to be like a chins at this point to really even be worth the slot. Versus going something like Mail of Renewal. Tier 2 going to be conceded here by Enemy. They jumped up and down under tower, thought about defending it, but no, they have to defend the base at this point. Tier 2's remaining on the right side, and the Tier 1 as well for that matter. But all 5 members of Denial knocking on the door on the left side here, looking for the second Phoenix, and maybe a couple picks would give them the game.
Just also here, Wars being placed by Enemy, or Denial rather, here, right next to the base. Here comes the flank from Adjust. He's being aggressed on by Shing. Serqet able to scare off the other jungler. As the ultimate is going to take damage onto that Awilix.
God, look at a chunk on a Salt Machine, even with the Geb shield used there. Still not enough. And Sylvanus is still here healing them up through this siege.
Chaos.
Phoenix does go down. PainDeViande, he's going to get pulled back in. He's going to try to cataclysm underneath the Hades Pillar of Agony there. Anubis' ultimate has been expended at this point. Quite low as Mace to the face of the back of this fight, trying to run away from the Osiris. He could be able to lifesteal this if he missed the wrap there, unfortunately. Still fighting in the front line, though, is BEllona. She's getting crit quite a bit by Vetium, but not too worried about it. with those big-time warrior base stats.
2 for 1.
Titan down to 50% HP now from the minions, and this, I believe that Denial just wins now. It was so low already.
Enemy lost 2 players in that engagement, and while it seemed a very sleepy time barbecue, it looked like it was nothing to be talking about. All of a sudden, 3 members wound up giving up essentially an open net. I mean, there's just all these minions coming in, dealing the damage. You lost 1 player on the side of Denial. You only needed 4 when you got the minions.
Yeah, the minions did 50% of the time. They had about 10k HP, and they engaged at about 5k. So, yeah, you're right. That where the ultimate onto the Awilix on the right side, which he tried to flank, put her back to base, let the minions fall in there. And then that long engagement from BEllona and the chase from Osiris onto Anubis opened that one up. Let's take another look at the first blood.
It's just a rollout from Gab.
Never go into the corner of death.
Yeah, PainDeViande will be the last one to deal it. There it is, the knockup. And it's always fun when you see that kill specifically because of the way that Geb knockup works.
Yeah.
Shockwave does more damage the closer you are to the target, and Pain was a mile away.
Yeah. That ability still does a ton of damage, though.
It does.
Probably too much.
You think?
I think so.
Oh, well.
I think so. Why does it do that much damage?
Might be interesting.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a player of this game. The best player so far in this game. I don't know if it was the best performance that we saw all day, but it wasn't Anubis, and you won with it.
He was the top dog.
So, yeah, shout-outs to Macetodaface. How are you, dude? Welcome. And what did you think about your Anubis?
I'm doing great, and I'm just really happy that Anubis, at least in North America, now has a 100% win rate, I believe.
Yes, I believe he does, and I believe that's the first competitive win on Anubis since, like, what? Solo lane spray yarn?
Probably sometime around there, yeah.
I think that was the last time I saw Anubis get a W.
That's a long throwback. But Bart and I were having a lot of fun really discussing the merits of bringing Anubis into this. Now, Anubis is cool, but I imagine there's more of a thought process to that. Walk us through why the Anubis was picked here.
So, enemy are more or less our scrim partners. We've played them a lot, and one thing that they did in a lot of the games was Hades mid. So, basically, the goal of Hades mid is to just have a tanky mid laner. There's no one you can go in and kill. Well, Anubis doesn't care about that. It doesn't matter how many protections you have. If you get ulted, you're dead.
Yeah, indeed. We're showing your highlight reel here as well, and we're going to show off basically exactly that. And Hades obviously pillar of agony stands still, and you eat the whole duration of the ultimate. But one thing that we were kind of wondering about the Anubis pick into the Awilix specifically was there some kind of core to your mind where you're saying, okay, I'm going to Plague of Locust these knockups to prevent the gravity surge, or no?
I wasn't really too worried about that because well, I was more thinking you can avoid the Awilix knockup. The only knockup that's really applicable to is the Geb knockup.
Right.
So that's definitely something to consider. But with Anubis, I'm usually playing so scared. I'm usually not. I usually don't give Geb the opportunity to even get that close. Really, ideally with Anubis, you want to be really protected and just demolish their front line when they try to poke your front line out.
Yeah. Another thing that we were like looking at and kind of a little curious about was like, so in game 1, there was an opportunity to draft both Serqet and Giannis, but instead Geb's Serqet was picked. And in the last game, Giannis wasn't picked at all. Can you just talk a little bit about the relative state of Giannis and why we didn't see him in that last game?
Honestly, the only reason we didn't pick Giannis in the last game is because we were holding out for the Anubis.
Right,
we just knew that was a counter pick that we might go for, and we basically put it all on the line. We didn't ban Osiris to bait them into Osiris solo lane, so that way they would send Hades mid, and I think it worked out.
I think it worked out too. I mean, you guys wound up with the W. That's important that you wound up splitting the series, and again, that's important because it allows you to stay true to your standings, and you don't really move too much. Now, with that said, looking forward, what do you guys have planned for the future in your future games to really bring it up and come to land?
We're just gonna have to play tighter games. We're gonna keep trying new kinds of compositions, such as Anubis. Maybe not too many more Anubis games, but just different gods. Right. And I think if we just play solid, we should be able to edge out and come into the 6th spot and make it to land. Yeah,
I mean, you guys won today with Anubis, and you had a pretty good showing on Naja as well. Oh, yeah. So some of those pocket picks coming out and showing their worth. But on the topic of Naja, how far in the pocket is Naja, or do you think that this god is currently competitively viable in different situations and comps?
I don't think it's necessarily like too niche. I think you can pick Naja against most teams. The main thing is this gives you a lot of early pressure in mid. Like when it's a 2v2 mid jungler against mid jungler, it just prevents them from ever walking forward. And it's just a really good god if you think your team is lacking early game pressure.
Yeah, I personally love Naja. I like what he brings to the table, and I think you guys really exemplified that well. Shing got an early sash very early on, so very exciting stuff coming out from Naja. But before we let you go, Macetodaface, is there anything you'd like to give out, shout out or anything to your friends and family at home?
I guess just, I don't know, shout out to all the fans and shout out to Anubis.
Hey.
Shouts to Anubis.
Any call-outs? You want to talk any smack?
Khaos the Baskin, who yelled at me for playing Anubis in in-houses because he thought I was trolling.
Yeah.
There you go. And that was one of the main things we were saying was like, look at this composition. Like, this is not a troll Anubis pick. They like actually have planned this.
Right.
Where I think every other time we've ever seen Anubis has been like, we're just going to style on him, Anubis. So yeah, congratulations, Mace. Congratulations to Denial for picking up a game in the first day of week number 7. And that does conclude our North American coverage. Let's take a look at the standings overall, where Denial improves to 6-12. Enemy goes 10-10 now through the split. Cloud9 and TSM now knocking on the door for a top 3 position here. And Eager also being a standout here in the second half. They really started turning on a few weeks in.
Yeah, Eager has really turned it around. Denial here in that 7th slot, as you heard Macetodaface say, they've got to play a little bit tighter. I've always liked the creativity of these guys on Denial, most notably Shadowq and Macetodaface really come together to create interesting things. So this was a very fun match to watch.
Well, it's not all the Smite action coming up for you this week. That's just the beginning of it. You also have coming up this Saturday. Match of the week is Cloud9 versus Enemy. 8-8, 9-9 respectively there. So that's going to be a big game for that 3rd place, 4th place position. A really 3rd to 6th between TSM, Cloud9, and Enemy there. So yeah, be sure to tune in for this one on Saturday.
And that picture, quick to be outdated, Barracuda's hair is now pink. It's just pink.
Well, guys, before we get into the games, make sure that you sign up and go play over at Alpha Draft if you want an opportunity to play some daily fantasy and win real money. Because who doesn't like money and who doesn't like esports? If you're watching this, you probably like both of those. Maybe not the money, but probably the money.
I like the money.
I love the money. Let's take a look at the schedule for the rest of the week and all the games that you can show your skill-based aptitude in on Alpha Draft. It's Justice versus Paradigm tomorrow, along with Elevate TSM. And then moving into Saturday, it's Fnatic Dignitas, LC versus Epsilon. And then our match of the week, it's Cloud9 versus Enemy, followed by Eager and Denial. Another good one. These two teams have a lot of history together.
Oh, yeah.
Moving into Sunday, Titan Justice, Myrmidon Paradigm, North America's AFK Elevate, and COG TSM. Another good game to watch. COG had a pretty damn good showing against Atlanta.
I'm excited about COG TSM. And if you guys watched the Esports Weekly Live that we do every Wednesday at 4, you know I picked COG 2-0 there. So I'm expecting a spicy outcome.
A 2-0 for COG. Young
Yes.
Divios, you think that strong for TSM? We'll find out, guys. That does it for our broadcast today and our coverage of the Smite Pro League for this Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've been Bart. That was Tom Hinduman. Join me for the the European game. Tomorrow you got Adonis and Brandon on the 1s and 2s. Thank you very much for joining us. hi-rez Bart, F.NY. See you next time.
Will I become what I became when we were only friends? If not, I think I might just write again. 'Cause I remember when you said it's the smartest way if all we stay as friends.